Well, good afternoon. Thanks for your patience. Took a bit longer, and Philippe had to leave for another appointment, but so Ska can give you the update after the meeting with von der Leyen.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming. We had a nice meeting with Ms. von der Leyen and had a very nice exchange of view. I mean, it was the first meeting, so we first had to get to know each other, and we've been exchanging points of views on the general situation in Europe and on the matter of urgency of climate, on the issue of migration, and we have also invited her to a group meeting which, I mean, we don't know yet at what time that will happen, but will be web streamed, so we can all have a look at it if you want, but we don't know yet when exactly that's going to take place. And well, what we've been saying as Greens, of course, is that we're very disappointed in the whole process, having the problem of the lead candidacy system being ignored by the Council, also having the situation of well, us as Greens not really being involved at all. I mean, not at all, neither by the Council nor really with regards to the three other groups, which is fine, it's their thing. But then, of course, we also note that as Greens, we have been reiterating what we've been telling you for many times now as well, that for us it's really important to have a Commission program that is based on a real change, not just incremental bits, but we really need to move forward, be it on climate protection, on rescue at sea, and many other issues. So as such, it's been a very nice exchange, and there is no conclusion afterwards, of course. It's also very obvious that Ms. von der Leyen didn't have the chance yet to write down her program with very concrete proposals. We will wait for that, we will look at that, but we have made clear that from our point of view, the issue of the step back in democratic procedures is also a real obstacle, as well as content and everything else.
So now we have time for a few questions. Anna.
Anne Gelinek, ZDF in Brüssel. You said it was a very nice meeting. Was it nice enough for the Greens to vote for von der Leyen next week? And a question in German, if I may. Inwiefern ist die Installation einer neuen Seenotrettungsmission für Sie Bedingungen, für von der Leyen zu stimmen?
It was a nice meeting because, well, why not? But just, you know, because you have a nice meeting doesn't mean you vote for someone, right? That depends on other things than just thinking it's nice people or something. So no, it depends from us, as always, as we have been saying, on content, on a concrete program, but also on the matter, and that, I would say, is a sort of a precondition, is the whole issue of how do we bring European democracy forward. Right now it's taking a step back, and for us this is a real major problem. The issue of rescue at sea is for us a very vital one. I mean, soll ich das auf Deutsch antworten? Okay, Entschuldigung. Die Seenotrettungsfrage ist für uns absolut essentiell und zentral, weil für uns ist es nicht akzeptabel, dass wir in einer Situation sind, wo im Mittelmeer Menschen ertrinken und niemand hilft. Und wir haben darüber unterhalten, dass es auch historische Beispiele gab, wo es auch schon ähnlich passiert ist, wo einzelne Staaten eingegriffen haben. Und für uns Grüne ist es absolut zentral, dass wir Seenotrettung haben. Das ist das absolut Mindeste, was wir von der Europäischen Union, auch von den Mitgliedstaaten erwarten können.
Other question, Griselda.
If I don't have to answer in French. No, it's a huge problem, because we have always supported the lead candidacy issue, not just because we like the lead candidates or something, no, because it's a step forward in a better European democracy, to make sure that a person who is going to run the European Commission has actually presented herself, has put forward a program, has the support of the European political family, has been campaigning, has been traveling the continent. That's why it's important, the lead candidacy issue. And now we again have the situation that the Council comes up with someone, you know, who no one had on their piece of paper, no one had any idea that this was coming up. And so for us, this is really a major problem, a big obstacle, because it's a step backward on democracy.
Katalin.
Yes, thank
No, we've been staying much more broadly talking about the general need to do this or that. So there was no specific program proposals. That will come later, I assume. I mean, obviously, also for her, she's been picked up by the council, just like that. So, so no, it wasn't that specific, not at all.
Max?
Thank you. Max Hochmann, Deutsche Welle. Did Ursula von der Leyen make any concessions in the areas that are important to you?
We've really not been very specific. We've been discussing very generally about policies, what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. It hasn't been to the specific policy level. Maybe this is something that we'll do in the group meeting. For sure, this is something we'll do in the group meeting, but also this is something where we really have to say we're waiting for proposals. I mean, it's very clear that you go around as someone who is supposed to become Commission President and see what's important to the group, sure. But indeed, we also want to see very concrete policy proposals. That's something that we would expect of her as of anyone else who wants to be Commission President. But we did not yet touch that today.
Daniel?
Für uns ist ganz klar, dass bei uns das Programm zuerst steht. Natürlich zum einen die Demokratisierungsfrage und dann das Programm, wie wir es immer gesagt haben, sei es beim Klimaschutz, Seenotrettung, sei es bei der Rechtsstaatlichkeit und auch beim sozialen Zusammenhalt. Wir wissen natürlich aber auch, dass um dann das Programm umzusetzen, dann braucht man auch Personen, die es ernst meinen in diesem Programm, die es umsetzen. Und deswegen ist es wichtig, dass wir auch grüne Personen anstellen haben, die dann die Umsetzung tun können. Aber das Programm ist absolut, kommt zuerst, ist zuerst dran und das brauchen wir ganz zentral.
Jurek.
I think she's a very able politician. She has survived German politics for quite long, so that's something. But from my point of view, that's not enough, right? I mean, for being Commission President, it's not enough to be an able person. It's very good if you're an able person. I think that should be a precondition. But that's not enough for our vote, because you can have able politicians with a very different opinion on how the world should be run than us, and so on and so forth. So that's not enough.
Then we go over here.
Anyway, is the impression right I'm having that the Greens are very much, you didn't decide yet, of course, but you're very much open in the sense that, of course, there is this very huge problem with the fact that the democratic process has been more or less destroyed, but the fact that the program might be enough to overcome this huge problem.
I have to say, I still have the same impression as I had last week, namely that this democratic step back is a huge problem for us and will continue to be so, and it has to be resolved. And we have said the whole time, well, I mean, we don't really see a good reason for why we should vote for her. That hasn't changed. We want to see very concrete proposals of how the democratic issue can be addressed, as well as all the content issues can be addressed. We haven't seen them today. Of course, you can say, well, it's not a surprise because it's a very new thing. Sure, we're ready to wait and see. And of course, it's the group in the end decides. But I have to say, it's not very. I mean, that we get a Commission President who says, yes, on democracy, I have these 3 things ready here, which will be implemented tomorrow. And also, I've been basically copy-pasting the Green election program or whatever. I'm going to put it into place. There's not a very likely scenario, and I have to say that we really want to see very concrete offers and proposals on that, because else there's no good reason. Well, we want to see an offer. I think, I mean, as Greens, we've always been the ones who've been very constructive. In this whole time, we've been always saying, here's our proposal, we're so well prepared, why don't we meet, and so on, and discuss. And right now, we're at the stage where we say, okay, you've excluded us, fine, we're fine with that. But now if you want to come back and talk to us, we want to see an offer.
So last question to the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands, indeed, Sander van Oel on NOS News. I'll make it 2 questions. Now might be the time to actually say we don't wait for proposals. She's just arrived. We will ask something of her. Is that something you can see this week? And to what extent is it in the back of your head that you may nudge it out into a green way, whereas otherwise, if you don't, you may nudge it, the new program, the new commission, in the green direction. Whereas if you don't, others like ECR or ID might nudge it in the other direction.
Well, we're not so much afraid of what others are doing. We're very clear on what we want. We've been elected for a systematic change because, for example, for climate, for our common survival, we need to have systematic changes and quickly, else it's going to be very bad. So we're not worried about what happens if we're not. We are very clear on what we want, and we've been all the time very clear on that, and we're not cheap, we know, but that was never our point. What was the first question?
First question is, why not go and ask things?
Ah, right. Well, I've just explained that from our point of view, we've been always very constructive and clear. We've been always coming forward of proposals, but right now we've been excluded from the talks and negotiations, and that's, I mean, again, that's fine. The others have a majority, but then if they want to come and ask us something, then we want to see a very concrete offer. And of course, this is just to clarify. I mean, this was the first meeting we had, so we're not going to, as 2 group leaders now, or me as one, going to tell you it's going to be this way or that. That way, we'll have a group meeting. You know, we're always so constructive, but it's also very clear that we've been very taken aback from the whole process, from the whole council process, and we haven't seen anything yet that would be a huge offer to the Greens. So that's where we stand at the moment.
Thanks a lot. Have a good evening, and we'll keep you posted for the visit in the group. Thank you.
Thank you.